Hello guys, welcome to Mammoth Online, where the concepts become unimaginably simpler. So in today's topic, we will learn what is mathematical reasoning. In the last episode, we saw that we use simple sentences to prove some of the most fundamental concepts of maths. So understanding sentences become very important now. So in maths, we generally classify sentences into four important categories. Now, there may be more sentences, but we really don't care. Okay? So we just need four sentences, and we need four sentences because of simple reason. That is because we want to know which is valid and which is not valid.
So to summarize, math sentences can be divided into four categories. So we have four types there. Type 1 is imperative. Type 2 is exclamatory. Type 3 is interrogative. And type 4 is assertive or declarative type of sentences.
So for maths, we divide sentences into four categories. Okay? So the first category let's talk about is called imperative sentences. So when you hear the word imperative, it implies British imperialism. So basically we are talking about some sentences which have commands or order, like bring me a cup of tea or fetch me that ball, something like that. Okay? When you have these type of sentences, we call it imperative sentences.
So to summarize, imperative sentences are basically sentences made up of command or order. For example, bring me a cup of tea is an order, and that is why it is called imperative sentences.
The second type of sentences we'll be interested in is called exclamatory sentences. So basically here, it's like some kind of exclamation, basically surprise. For example, let's say we talk about, wow, that's a beautiful car. Now that's a surprise statement, right? So when we have such sentences, we call it exclamatory sentences.
So to summarize, exclamatory sentences have such surprise emotion to them. So sentences made up of surprise emotion generally has an exclamation mark is called exclamatory sentences. Example, wow, that's a beautiful car.
Now there is another category. Those sentences which have interrogation in them are called interrogative sentences. For example, you might have heard interrogation word in movies where they use interrogation room to question the villain or something. Police use that. So such sentences are called interrogative sentences, where there is questioning, like what's your name, where do you live, such questions.
So to summarize, interrogative sentences are those sentences in which we have interrogation or questioning, and generally it has a question mark. For example, we have what's your name is an interrogative sentence. Where do you live is an interrogative sentence.
Now, lastly but most importantly, we will talk about one other sentence called assertive or declarative kind of sentences. Basically, it's like some kind of statement you make. It could be fact, it could be belief, something, right? So basically, these kind of sentences have facts or beliefs, such kind of things in them. For example, Paris is in London. Now that statement is false, but doesn't matter. You just have to state some facts. Or you can say Eiffel Tower is the biggest building in the world. Could be. Or you can say Taj Mahal is in Agra. So these kind of statements where you're declaring something is called declarative sentences.
To summarize, assertive or declarative sentences are such type of sentences which are forceful or confident sentence of a belief or a fact. Let's take an example. Earth is bigger than sun. Now, Earth is not bigger than sun, but it is a declarative sentence. It could be true or false. Sir Isaac Newton discovered gravity, which is true.
So why do we need sentences in maths? Because you see, in maths, statements are formed by sentences. So now, what are statements? So you see, statements are assertive or declarative sentences which has truth values like true or false. Now, why did we take only assertive sentences and not imperative, interrogative or exclamatory sentences? You see, every other sentences, like for example, interrogative is questioning. It's very vague. So you cannot assign truth value to interrogative sentences. And it's the same for exclamatory sentences also. So if you're expressing surprise, you can't add truth value to that. Okay, and same goes for imperative sentences, which is basically commanding or ordering someone. So that also cannot be used for truth values. So in maths, we generally try to prove or disprove some statements. So we need such sentences which has truth value. What is truth value? Truth value is basically whether a sentence can be proven as true or false. So true and false are the truth values of every sentences. So only sentences among the 4 sentences which have truth value is actually declarative or assertive kind of sentences.
So to summarize, truth value basically is every sentence which is declarative or assertive in nature can either be true or false, which is called truth value. For example, we had a sentence like Earth is bigger than Sun. Now this particular statement is actually false. So its truth value is actually false. So we can write it as F. Now there are some sentences which is true. For example, Sir Isaac Newton discovered gravity. Now this is a declarative sentence. Now the truth value for this particular sentence is actually true. So we can write T. So generally when you talk about math sentences categories, there are 4 types. Now we understand that imperative sentences are generally order and command. So whenever we have imperative sentences, we cannot assign truth value to it. So these sentences will neither be true or false. So therefore, we will not have any truth value for this particular sentences. Now coming back to exclamatory sentences, these are surprises, and these sentences does not have any truth value attached to it. So therefore, we also don't associate any truth or false statement to this particular sentence. Now coming back to interrogative sentences, this is a sentence which is formed by questioning. So even here, we don't have any truth or false value. So even this does not have any truth values to it. The only sentences which has truth value to it is assertive or declarative type of sentences, which is stating a fact or belief. Now only this will have truth value. So from here on, whenever we are making sentences, we'll only talk about assertive or declarative sentences. So we understand that assertive or declarative sentences are the only sentences that are taken into account when we talk about statements. So we know that assertive or declarative sentences are the only sentences which has truth value attached to it. So therefore, the statements in maths which we deal all the time are only made up of assertive and declarative sentences, because only these will have true and false to it, which we call as truth value.